Hi, everyone. I'm Lexi, one of your hosts for the Foreignish podcast. And unfortunately, in this episode, my co host, Aaron, will not be making it. We met with a dear friend of mine named Elliot, who is currently living in Vietnam. And it was a little difficult to coordinate between Ben time, Spain time, and Vietnam time. But I'm really excited to get to it with Elliot. So let's hear what he has to say. All right, here we are live with Elliot.
So
What's going on? Oh my gosh, you're all the way around the world and it's crazy.
I'm now in Ho Chi Minh in Vietnam.
You're in Vietnam. Oh, wait.
I stayed in Korea only for 1 year. We were originally going to stay longer, but things didn't transpire the way that we had hoped. We ended up moving to Vietnam 2.5 years ago.
Gosh, this whole time I've been thinking that you had just gone to Vietnam for like a year and then went back to South Korea. Oh my gosh. Okay. And also I forget things because like we talk once a year. So I'm so happy to see you and catch up with you. Tell me what's just been going on like recently. Happy New Year. I guess
Happy New
we
Year.
don't celebrate. Do they celebrate the New Year at the same time or is it a little bit later?
I mean, they have their Lunar New Year, which is their much larger celebration, but they do throw a little party on for the 31st of December too.
Yeah. Did you get
Yeah.
wild?
I sat in a park and drank some Prosecco and watched the fireworks from a distance.
Yay. Okay, so you moved out to Asia. I want to hear everything, but Haley is still out there with you. I'm sure you
She's
guys
in
have been
bed.
back and forth from the States and stuff too, right? And
I've only
London?
actually visited her family once, and that was just before coming to Vietnam and after finishing Korea. We had like an extended period of time where one contract ended before we even had a job in Vietnam. We took that time to go and visit each other's families a little bit more than just what we usually get for summer holidays.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah,
fun. Okay. You guys have been together for quite some time now.
5 years.
5 years. Okay. And you met on Hinge, right?
That's right. The app that's designed to be
Elliot.
deleted.
I have been back and forth on Hinge, and every time I want to like rip out my eyeballs and throw them across the room. I'm okay. So we can start with about you and how you started traveling abroad and kind of like your stops along the way. I want to hear everything.
Sure. Okay.
Where do we begin?
I mean, do we begin with our story or do we begin with just how I managed to get out of the UK?
You tell us how you got out of the UK because that's a good story. Yeah.
I mean, I graduated university wanting to get into film or TV and just struggled to really connect, having not really made enough connections at uni. When I tried to go into the workforce, I was applying at hundreds of different positions, even like the lowest level, and just nothing came up. No matter how hard I tried, no matter how many emails I sent. And I ended up working for a food company that specialized in delivering food to media companies. And I thought, oh, this is a great opportunity to try and get in through like the back door or like a side door.
Right.
But unfortunately, after like 9 months working there, I still couldn't get any
Yeah.
people working in that company. It was actually Universal Music Studios, and I just wanted to have a chance at something, and
Yeah.
no one was willing to give me that chance. So I kept on looking further and further away. What could I do? What could I do? I had a few interviews for teaching in China, but there was something that I just didn't feel 100% confident moving across the world at that point
So far. Yeah.
so far. And so I decided found a position in Bilbao, which was a lot closer to home. It came with a lot of the kind of the qualification plus the experience of actually teaching in class, and it included some money, and everything just felt like it was a perfect little bundle.
Yeah.
So I quit my job and I decided to move on January 2nd, 2015. And I haven't
My
moved back
gosh.
since. Yeah, 10
It's
years,
been
just
10
over 10 years
years?
now.
It's been 11 years, I guess. So, did you know anything about Bilbao before you went, like Basque Country and all that?
I do have one friend who was born and raised in San Sebastian, but he He only had good things to say about it. He left San Sebastian to go to London to grow up in like his like high school. So that was the few bits of information from him that I had, which were all positive. The food was good. The weather was very similar to London, so I wouldn't feel too far away. And that was about it. That's all I knew.
Oh my gosh. So you packed your bags,
My one little
got
bag,
over
my one
to so
suitcase.
what was the program? Tell me more about the program because I've forgotten everything that you told me
Yeah.
apparently.
The, there was one company called Hands on TEFL, I think, and they offered to give
Mm,
me a placement for 6 months. They would put me in a school or not in a language center in somewhere in Spain. I think there was like 4 places: Madrid, Barcelona, Valencia, and Bilbao. And I don't think there were places left in Valencia, which is my
mm,
first choice.
mm,
And I ended up just going for Bilbao because I wanted to move away from a big city like London. And
mm.
with the program, with 6 months, you have like a TEFL qualification and you have experience like in class with students, and you get some sort of money plus accommodation included.
Nice.
And that was just everything that I could need. I didn't have anything to really worry about. And the day I arrived, I arrived quite late, and there wasn't anyone to like receive me, and I didn't really have a very good connection. Like I had to use the Alondiga's Wi-Fi so that I could get in contact with my new housemate who also did not have Wi-Fi at the house. And so that was a bit of my first hurdle, trying to navigate
Your
myself around a new
apartment?
city with no Wi-Fi, no, with no like data. And it just so happened that the suitcase that I brought with me, the one suitcase's wheel broke. And so if you know anything about Bilbao, it's quite hilly at parts, especially around residential areas. So I was effectively dragging this suitcase up hills, down hills, just so that I could finally get to my new accommodation, which eventually I did get let in. The thing being so weird and everything just unfamiliar, I didn't know what to do with myself. I thought it was going to be a little bit more, I was going to be a little bit more looked after, at least with my school coming to like help me transition into this new phase. And I guess I was expecting too much because
Did
there
they
was
just
not
throw you
there.
into everything? They
And that
threw
was
you
really the
into like
case.
all the teachers. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So the first day I knocked on the door and they were very confused. They were like, "Who are you?" They were not expecting me. They did not know who I was. And I was like, "I'm supposed to be starting work today." And I felt very kind of like worried, like I had been
Yeah.
sold a lie
Oh
because
no.
I had read all of these things about cowboy operations where these academies will get you to do stuff, not pay you, and not really give you the proper opportunity that they promise. And I was in that moment, I thought I've made a terrible mistake. I need to go back home immediately, and I should just quit while I'm ahead because the first
You're
day,
overtaken.
yeah, in the first day they just got us to sit and watch other teachers, which isn't necessarily a terrible thing, but that was training, as they called it.
That was it.
That was the extent of training.
Oh my gosh. Well, okay, so I remember my first teaching experience as well. I had obviously had a boyfriend that was gonna get married. I was like 23, had already lived abroad, so kind of moved to the same place I was familiar with, but I didn't have my papers and I was working in a bar and we were living out near Guernica of all places. And I've talked a lot about Guernica in other episodes, but there was an academy called Welcome English. And I was like, I'll just go, say hello and see if they need. And they're like, great, somebody who's a native.
Yeah,
Yes, here's some classes. And they basically gave me the books and told me to show up to class. And I was uh, like, what
sounds
do
about
I
right.
do? I'm like, turn to a page. Okay, teacher, okay. Oh my gosh, my first year was an absolute nightmare. It was so scary.
I think by the 3 month mark, I was in love. I was putting all of my effort into like finding new materials and just enjoying every single moment of it. So when the 6 months came and they asked me to stay, I said, of course, I was more than happy to stay. But I don't think I was ready to be a manager. I don't think that I had mentally understood what is required of dealing with people, more
Oh my
importantly.
gosh.
Some people are very strange.
Yeah.
Cannot expect how strange people are going to be coming into the academy. I mean, luckily I wasn't his manager at the time, but when I started, there was a guy called Mike, and he had had a pretty bad accident. And so he was on this really strict diet, which included on a regular basis getting maybe 20 heads of garlic and blitzing it with essential oils and something else more liquidy so that he could drink it throughout the day, and that the
What? Ew.
smell would emanate from him in every pore of his body, much to the manager's
Oh my God.
frustration because the students were complaining they didn't want to have class,
Mm,
as you probably might not want to have someone that smells
no.
of garlic.
Yeah. I've been in that situation too. Did
That
you
talk
manage
is
to tell
difficult.
them directly?
I mean, like, luckily for me, it wasn't my job at that point because he was started at the same time as me. So his 6 months ended when my 6 months ended, and then he just disappeared. That was another side story. He was working at our academy. He didn't have a very close relationship with people back home, I assume, because we got a call from his mum or family members worried about him because he didn't like check in. He went from ending this 6 month internship to just never communicating.
Oh my
To
gosh,
the
that's
point
scary.
where we were seeing all of these things in Facebook ads or groups, from like Interpol had been contacted, and then
Really?
like posters put up, and it turned out that he had just left Bilbao and went onto a farm in the countryside and just didn't bother to message back home, and then like resurfaced a few months later, like maybe 8 months later, alive and well.
Oh my gosh. How do you not contact your family and let them know where you are? Or was he just like super hippie and
He was a little bit hippie. I think he had a very relaxed attitude towards his family. I think that
obviously
he wasn't close with them as
drinking
much.
garlic and then like disappearing on a farm? It sounds pretty relaxing.
I mean, he
His garlic drinks,
smelling it was enough. I could get
he'll
the
live
health
forever.
benefits.
His
That's right.
heart is probably like so healthy.
The house was free from any vampires, that's for sure.
That's crazy. That's good. I know you and I met because you came to work as a teacher at WhatsApp, which was a interesting place to work.
It was fun. I loved
Yeah.
it.
They had a very specific methodology. We were supposed to make all the students do the work.
Hmm.
But yeah, that's basically how you and I met because you
That's
came
right.
in to be a teacher and we hired you. And I don't even remember how long you worked there.
I mean, in total, Bilbao, I was there for like 3.5 years, and I was doing the 6 month internship first, and then maybe 3 more months before they actually closed down the academy because it was losing money. Hopefully, it wasn't my fault, but
Yeah. Oh, good memes in Bilbao. That's how we met. I feel like I was in Bilbao for 10 years and I feel like some things are such a blur. I've mainly like blocked out a lot of WhatsApp stuff. Thanks, WhatsApp. You employed me for 8 years. But yeah, I think because Bilbao, do you have any good funny stories from living in Bilbao? Because you were there for 3 years and then from there you went to Asia. No,
to
Barcelona.
Barcelona.
Oh shit, God.
Yeah,
Because we lived together in Barcelona.
exactly.
Sometimes I get like Barcelona, my apartment in Barcelona, like I get it mixed up with my apartment in Bilbao. Oh my gosh, I was in Spain way too long. Go
Yeah.
for it. Tell me more.
I mean, Bilbao was just a great place to move to in terms of funny stories. I was looking through all of my photos. There were just a lot of partying, a lot of just enjoying. I mean, as you said, the academy was like aimed at adults. So I think we were lucky to kind of integrate a little bit with local people,
Hmm.
as it's kind of difficult. That was one of the hardest things, making friends overseas. And
Gosh, yeah.
it was lucky that that academy pushed adults into the same room and told them to drink, and then they became friends. It was that
Yeah.
simple. But
Yeah.
without that force, it can be almost impossible, which I
Yeah.
found out later.
It's
Yeah.
true. It's hard being an expat because you're always the foreigner. So especially in the Basque Country. Well, the Basque Country and Catalonia, it's like they're very tight knit with their people. You
Yeah,
have your cuadrilla, which we've talked
exactly.
about in other episodes in the Basque Country, but Catalans are also very like they don't like foreigners,
Hmm.
and yeah, it can be really lonely. So I think teaching English is like great because you meet other expats and you build a little community, but also like working at What's Up, since it was all adults, like you had people that really wanted to get to know you and like be friends with you and learn English from you. And that was kind of cool. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I still stay in contact with a bunch of people that I either taught or taught with. And I'm very thankful for that.
So we have context. You started working for WhatsApp. Like you obviously that previous company shut down and then you went to WhatsApp and you were hired as a teacher. I moved at some point to Valencia and then
Valencia.
ended up in Barcelona at the headquarters. You continued at Bilbao or at that academy, or did you work somewhere else before
No, no, no. I applied internally to get to Barcelona
to do the content job?
to do the content job. I obviously got the
Yeah.
job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I remember when you applied and I was like, I mean, you were great at your job and I was so happy for you to come to Barcelona. Oh my gosh, dude. One of the best times I've ever had in Barcelona was with you when we went to, was it brunch? Was it like
To the
a
park. That
but,
was
like, the sad thing is that we wanted to go to this party. So in Barcelona, they do these things called brunch in the park. It's like electronic music, techno music, whatever, and they'll have them like different areas around Barcelona. This one was in Montjuic years
yeah,
ago, and we decided that we were going to go get brunch, and we were going to get really, really drunk, and then we were going to go up to brunch in the park, and that's what we did. We met. We had a lot of whatever we were drinking, champagne. I think we were
yeah, it
drinking
was like a
cava.
mimosa or something. The good old
We
carver of
walked
Barcelona.
all the way there. We were pretty hammered by the time we got to brunch in the park.
Absolutely.
As soon as we got in, immediately, and literally like half an hour into it starting, we like lost each other.
Separate ways. Didn't see each other for the rest of the night. But
I don't
I
think I
know I
made it.
stayed there. I definitely stayed at that festival for a long time, far longer than I probably should have, because the only memory that I have after losing you quite early was kind of walking through, because I was still it was like a week or two after arriving to Barcelona. So I had no kind of compass, no like internal
We're so
compass of where I
dumb.
need.
We should have had
Yeah.
a point to meet up. We were just
Yeah.
excited. We were
Yeah.
just stupid and excited. Yeah, you told me that you got lost on the way home.
I
You
got
couldn't find
lost.
your way home.
It was like 6 o'clock in the morning. I was walking down like a really big avenue, one of the main streets in like Chamblay, where they have all the fancy benches along the side. And I was just wandering around long enough so that I could sober up so that I could actually figure out how to get home.
And yeah, and it was, I remember, oh, your phone died. That was the thing. Your phone died.
Of course.
And you were trying to find a way to charge it. Cause like if your phone was available, you would have probably been able to like Google map it or something. But
Yeah, for
the
sure.
problem was is all the drinking before that. But the funny thing was the story the next day, because I feel like you did show up to work. I did not show up to work because I worked with you in that office sometimes.
It was on a Sunday. I remember that now. It was a terrible day to have such a big party, but we both decided to deal with the
We sent
consequences
it,
later.
dude. We sent it. Yes. So you ended up in Barcelona.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I like the team, but in comparison to having like an academy full of teachers and stuff, you are much more limited. So I just felt like I didn't have as many opportunities to kind of bridge into different friendship circles. And yeah, I had a good time while I was there. The job itself was easy. I was used to now teaching, being in front of people, and then to go into a desk job, it was like almost like not a downward spiral, but just like a lack of momentum.
Yeah. How long did you work on the content team?
No, I quit after having lived there for at least a year. I think it was just over a year. My life changed dramatically. I knew that I was going to go to this wedding. My friend from university, like my best friend from uni, he invited me to his wedding in India. And I was like, of course I'm going to come. And I asked WhatsApp, was like, can I have more than 2 weeks to go to this wedding? And they said, no, 2 weeks is the max.
You're like,
Well,
fuck this.
yeah. So, I mean, other things happened in my life where I kind of just decided
Bad
to
breakup. You can say it.
bad
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 breakup.
breakup, very intense 8-month relationship ended very abruptly. And from that moment that I broke up on a Sunday, I quit my job on the Monday and I moved back to London on Thursday. So my life 180'd Yeah. So it just made my decision to leave a little bit easier. And I got to go to my friend's wedding and I didn't have to only go for 2 weeks. So it was a win-win, so to speak.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, I was in contact with my brother at that time. I hadn't spoken to him a lot over the years, but this time we kind of started talking more and, explaining my situation. He was quite empathetic and, like trying to be a big brother, which was nice. And
Mhm.
I said that I was going to go to India and he was traveling around around the world at the time. And he was like, I'll come and meet you,
Yeah.
which was like a nice turn of events because I didn't expect that at all. So we ended up traveling together after the wedding. I did like a whole week, amazing wedding experience. And whatever they say about Indian weddings, it's true, plus more, at least the one I
So
went to.
cool.
And then we traveled India together for like 2 months. And then we went back home briefly to just refuel before going out to South America.
Gosh,
And
that's right.
yeah,
South America.
so I did South America. I was his communicator. I mean, like I'd spent a lot of my money, my savings that I had put together. And he was like, look, if you just do all of the talking, just do everything, just communicate with every single person. I'll help you with some of the bills. I'll help you with some of the flights and whatnot. And I was like, that's a great deal. Of course, I'll do that. I'll be happy to help. And so we traveled South America using my Spanish and his resources. We had like such a cool time just bonding and kind of
Yeah.
learning about the
Awesome.
culture.
Where was your brother? Where were you in South America again? Just because you did stay with a friend. I felt like, you had a friend there you ended up like staying like a month with, right?
That's right. Someone that we had met on the first day my brother arrived to India. We were at the hostel that I chose, and I was just kind of overhearing some Spanish in the background. So I thought I'd go speak to them, ask for some recommendations of places in India to go since we had no idea. And we ended up making friends with these people, a Venezuelan girl and a Colombian girl. One of them told us to go to Rishikesh, which is where we spent
Mm.
almost 3 weeks just existing there and having the best time, which she came and joined us back. And then when we got to South America, that Colombian girl had just moved back to Colombia. So we ended up staying, she invited us into her finca, like a family home in the
Mm.
countryside, and said, look, if you want to just wait and see how things go with COVID, because it had only just arrived to South America.
Gosh.
Yeah, it was a crazy time to be traveling. Obviously, my plans was to go from South America all the way up to North America and to Canada, where I have like almost a sister living there. But we got cut short at Colombia.
My concern was that you basically started all your travels after your breakup. I'm like, "Are you okay?" But it probably was so healing, especially being in India and Rishikesh and being with your brother. I mean, being with someone, that you love and trust. So I guess that's probably the best way. That's like breakup 101. Like eat, pray,
Hmm.
love, dude.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, there was so many bus rides, especially in South America, of like getting from one country to the next as it was cheaper than flying. Extended amounts of time on these really comfy buses, looking out into the like sunset and distance, just to kind of mull things over and process. A lot of processing was done on those buses. I got to thank them for that.
Yeah.
I got back at March. I think it was May by the time I got actually back from Colombia, May, April. And then by December, I had got a job working with some friends in a bar up in central London. And there was like a big lockdown again, like a mini lockdown. They kept on having all of these like breaks and open and break. And then we had this really big party at work. There was people coming, and obviously all the people after work would stay for a drink, and then the owners would invite their friends, and then it was just like 30, 40 people at this place. Someone had COVID at that party and they kind of spread it around.
Girl.
And so it meant that I had COVID
Incapacitated.
during just Christmas Day. It kind of really hit me the hardest. And
Right.
I had no smell. That was the thing I was most worried about, no smell
Mm.
or taste. So I was looking at my Christmas dinner and everything just felt grey. Everything that just,
No,
there's no way to explain it. There's
no joy.
no joy whatsoever. Textures, there's not a lot of textures that are interesting when you don't have taste. That's it. So that was a bad year for Christmas. I had to spend, at least another week and a half aside again locked in my room not to get my parents sick. And yeah, by the end of it, my smell came back. I remember how excited I was, smelling like perfume, just to kind of make sure that I could smell
Yeah.
again every day, doing some smell training. And yeah, there was some weird times. And
Gosh.
I wanted to get out. I was in London again. I was working in a bar exactly like I was 10 years prior, well, maybe 8 years prior. And just feeling like I needed to get out, which is where you came in and
I'm
you
like, come back,
come back to Spain, come back to Barcelona,
come
which
live
is
with
when
me.
I'm exactly, which is when I moved into your house. I thought I was only going to be there for a few weeks to get my residency. And then they were basically like, you need a job to apply for your residency. So someone at one of the academies had just randomly quit. And we were on a hike one morning. I think it was just day 2 of being in Barcelona.
I was like, you want a
And
job too?
did you want a job? And I was like, I actually really do need a job right now. And things just kept on getting better. Everything just kind of fell
As soon
into
as you leave
place.
London, everything turns around for you.
Exactly. So yeah, it was Barcelona served me well. I cannot be upset with it, even though it was tumultuous at points. It was
Yeah.
also so interesting. We had so many great
Highs and
parties,
lows.
highs and
Highs and
lows.
lows.
The
And that's where
city
you ended
itself.
up meeting Haley,
That's
which
right.
is your current partner. I think
Exactly.
coming back to Barcelona had that like it's like kind of like a bittersweet experience because like the first part, was a different and then you ended up with Haley and you guys are still together and that's awesome. Yeah, tell us how you guys met. Tell us what she was doing in Barcelona, how you guys met, and then what you decided to do after being together for a bit.
Yeah, I mean, I think on that hike where you gave me the job, I was still maybe using Hinge, swiping it a little bit there, and we ended up matching. Just it was such a weird experience dating during COVID because obviously there's still restrictions. You're meeting a stranger. Do they want you to wear a mask? Do you want them to wear a mask? We couldn't go to any restaurants. All restaurants were closed at the time in Barcelona. You had to be home by 10 o'clock. Otherwise, you're going to get fined. So you had like a curfew, almost like you're a teenager again, which kind of encouraged us to like, they pushed us to go for a walk along the beachfront. And
Mm.
that was our first date. That was date number 2. And I think number 3 too. It was just the same kind of thing. We're just meeting up to walk.
Yeah.
So
So
much
you
walking.
can't like the bars were closed here and there too, for sure.
Haley was
For
doing
sure.
her masters, so she was studying with a bunch of people, and I kind of joined in with their little group of friends from university, and yeah, it was like being at uni myself almost, just partying and going to the beach and enjoying what it was like to be 20 something again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. But I think 6 months in, you guys decided to go to Asia, didn't you?
So yeah, her masters was coming to an end, and her visa was also coming to an end because of that. So we kind of had to make a decision: do we go to the south and wait it out a little bit, or do we go to South Korea to get out of because she didn't have the right to stay there effectively, and we decided to go to Korea. There were other countries on the list, but because of COVID restrictions, not all of them were accepting new people
Mm,
at the time. So South Korea was really our only option, almost.
mm.
They had much stricter restrictions compared to Spain. Spain was like out in the open, out in the clear, everyone was back to normal. But Korea was very much still going through the middle stage of QR codes to get into restaurants and all of your showing that you've had your vaccinations in places. When we arrived, we had to do like a quarantine, but it was, I think the biggest difference was obviously having moved Spain by myself to Bilbao and then having moved to Barcelona again, starting from zero with no one. It kind of prepares you mentally for doing it again. It gets easier
Yeah.
every time.
Yeah.
But go,
You have like less fear.
yeah. And then going to Korea, obviously having not speaking the language, but the difference being that the alphabet is so crazily different. You can't rely on even any recognition, like no recognizable words. So that was like another additional
Hurdle.
like complication. Yeah. But having someone to do it with, even easier. You're not going to
Mm.
be as worried.
Yeah. Because you have each other. And so you can be scared together.
In Korea, it's quite an insular country. They've had this massive like K boom, but realistically, they haven't, like the tourism industry is quite focused on Korean tourism. It's prepared for Korean people to travel around the country. And it's so easy to travel there. And I very much recommend traveling South Korea. It's like a beautiful country, it's so safe. You can move around. The food's like great. But living there was a big challenge. It was like
Really?
a massive change in mentality, like
Culture.
cultural expectations of work and the way that they look at tourism and foreigners in general. I don't want to say that they're xenophobic, but they're not used to having many foreigners there.
They don't know. Yeah, so there isn't like a lot of probably there's not a ton of expats too, which it's always nice to build that community. So you feel like people are really resistant to getting to know you and stuff.
100%. I mean, I think the expat community is like 1% of their population. So I do think that they're going to grow, definitely going to have more people coming, and they'll have to make some sort of allowances or just changing their attitudes a little bit. But they definitely weren't as prepared for us as we were for them, so to speak. We were there just to really like meet people. And luckily we had taught online and we met a couple of people from South Korea and they were very helpful. They're really kind people once you get to know them. It's just a
Mm,
lot of them don't allow you to like make that first bridge.
probably like fear based too, think but like around the world, I feel like everywhere I hear people live, there's always that like resistance or just like lack of understanding because you can't communicate. So, yeah.
Korea does a lot to promote Korean culture, especially for people coming in. There's loads of events, loads of ways to learn about their culture, and even free language classes if you look hard enough. So I very much enjoyed that. I got stuck in, every week we were doing something culturally relevant, learning about different, going to the museums or learning about different handiwork that they do. Took Korean lessons, still can't speak Korean, but it was a fun experience. I met like some really cool people. That was like the chance that I actually got to meet some nice people through the online classes because everyone was still in the same boat. And the people at work were very friendly in my branch of the academy. So I had a really good time with work. It was easy, like WhatsApp. There's a methodology. It's pretty straightforward. Once you learn the method, then you could just make it better and just, you don't have to stress so much.
Hmm.
Haley's academy weren't as friendly. They would run in a different kind of mentality. I think it was run more closely with the Korean attitudes towards a managerial position, overlording over the kind of staff, watching cameras, messaging them if they're not doing what they're supposed to do. Not like if they sat down while they were teaching, she would get a message saying, you should be standing. So it was
So they were a
intimidating
little
for
bit
her.
more like dictatorship
Hmm.
that I got. So she was unhappy, probably.
Very much, yeah. It was hard for her to transition into this new life,
Teaching life.
going from being at uni with all of these people that just naturally click together because they're on the same course or on similar interests, to then go into this like forced environment where it's much more difficult to make those kind of connections. It was challenging for the both of us, but I think it hit her a little bit harder.
Well, yeah, and she'd never taught before, right? Like,
Only
I
online.
mean, yeah, oh, online. That's right. She was doing that like part time. Well, there's a huge learning curve, not just like culturally and being in South Korea, which is hard, but
Mm,
and also it's coming from Spain.
yeah.
And then also going into an academy and them not treating you right. So then you guys went to Vietnam, right?
So we did a year in Korea. We had a year contract and we, thought we'd see it out because we wouldn't necessarily lose anything, but we do get like a little bit of like a bonus if you stay longer. And we went on holiday. They were supposed to give us like 1 day off a month, which is quite standard around this part of the world. But they were so shisty and not very straightforward about how you can take your time. We just booked 5 days in Vietnam and we just prayed and hoped for the best that we would get it together, two academies at the same time. We were not sure if we'd even get the same time off, but it worked. And it was such a big cultural shift again, going from Korea, where it was a little bit more closed and shut off, into Vietnam, where everyone seems to be much more like open and friendly and smiley. And when you're walking down the street, they're like waving at you. We kind of just was enthralled. We were just very happy to be in a just different kind of mindset immediately. And I had a friend living in the south, someone else that I had met in
Mhm.
India during my travels, and she recommended us to move with her down, well, to move into the same area of um in Ho Chi Minh City. And
Mhm.
after having those 5 days, we started seriously considering it. And effectively, it was because of that connection that I made in India and the 5 days that we spent on holiday that we ended up living in Vietnam as we do now.
Yay. Oh, good. So you like Vietnam a lot more.
Yeah, I think there's definitely a lot more people here are just happy to like make friends with locals and non-locals. There's much more of like a unison between the two groups. I think that the language is much higher again because they rely a little bit more on tourism, so they naturally have to push learning English, and they have had to. So I think people there are really just friendly. They're really
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah, and I wonder if Haley ever did it because it's really a question like for her, but there are all these like amazing spas in South Korea where people fly from all over the world and get like really advanced treatments for cheap. Like,
Obviously, being a smaller country, they don't have the same issues in some of the other places around it. But when you work there, you get access to their healthcare system, and it was second to none almost. No waiting. You could obviously pay extra to go private, but everything was just very quick if you know how to speak the language. And I think that's what kind of caused a little bit of a situation. Haley and I were feeling sick at one point. We had like a chest infection or something. So we learned what was the symbol, the
mhm.
word for doctor in Korean. And there was a place really close to where we were living. So we went to this building, and it's like a multi-story building. And we saw on one floor, there was like a bunch of different offices. So we went in there, and Haley saw like a poster of a man coughing, and she thought, oh, that must be where we need to go. That must be the doctors that we need to see. So we went in, and with our terrible translation on our phones, like, we need to see a doctor. Haley was trying to kind of see the doctor right now. And I think that made the receptionist a little bit concerned, but she was like, okay, come see the doctor. Ended up, they kind of split us up. And I would thought that was weird. I was like waiting for her to kind of be seen. And by the end, she kind of came out laughing. I was like, what had happened? We went in there thinking it was like a general doctor, but the one that she had seen was actually, when she got into the room, she started seeing all of these things for Botox and other kinds of like
Oh,
cosmetic surgeries. The receptionist thought that she had like an infection in an implant, and that's why we had gone to see this implant expert. So yeah, we've definitely got the right drugs in the end, but it was an awkward conversation about what kind of infection we had in our chest in the end.
you're like,
Different one.
oh my gosh. Yeah, gosh, it must be so difficult. Like,
I mean, the one sentence that I learned that seemed to get me through the most of it was like, sorry, I'm English. And then they would look at you and be like, okay, that's fine. That's fine.
like you say,
No more
sorry, sir.
conversation.
This is what I
That
do.
reminds me of the first time that I went to this end of year party. We went with obviously people from Bilbao, and we flew to Barcelona, and we kind of went to this big event, and it was nice. We had a great time. But one of the guys that we had gone with, instead of traveling normally, he brings just a briefcase, all of his clothes in this fucking briefcase. Sorry, I don't know if I'm allowed to swear.
You can swear.
He went to this like a 3-day work event, and he brings just a suitcase. He gets to the event. We have a great time. And
Was
then
this me?
we're going, this is, yes, exactly.
I loved him, but he was a goddamn disaster. And we kept giving him chance over chance over chance to like redeem himself. One time he came to work with a joint in his hair. He had a joint in his hair.
He was a very interesting character. We loved him for that. That's for sure.
So he brought a briefcase.
So he brought a briefcase. We went and got trashed, as that's what they pay you to do, basically. And then leaving for the airport from the hotel, we all get a taxi. We get through because it's a domestic flight. You don't need to go through like the immigration, and we get sat down right at the gate, and he's flicking through the 3 little sections of his briefcase, and he's like, I can't find my passport. He had left his bloody passport at the hotel. The flight was leaving shortly.
We had had an all-nighter.
I mean, I had been out for like 36 hours. I hadn't even gone back to the hotel almost. So I don't blame him, but even still, I did have my passport and I did get to the airport on time. Another guy that was working with us at the time,
Kippa.
Geppa,
Wasn't his name Kippa?
yeah, that's right. He volunteered to rent a car and drive this guy back from Barcelona to Bilbao, which is not a
That
small
is the
feat.
kindest thing that anyone has ever done for anyone else that I've known in my lifetime, especially knowing how crazy was and all the trouble he was getting into and all the stuff. And like, still for him to offer to be like, I'll drive you. But I think he was the only one not hungover too. Yeah.
He's a sensible guy. Yeah, yeah.
So funny. Yeah. That's awful though, because everyone was so hungover.
Spain in general is a great place for the festivities, for the parties. You know, you have Semana Grande in the Basque Country every year. You
Mhm.
have La Tomatina, which I went, and which was crazy. I did the running of the bulls, although we were too drunk to run. And who thinks it's a great idea to run at 7 o'clock in the
It's a
morning
terrible idea. That's how people get
after
killed.
drinking all night? Asking for trouble.
I think people who are like pro run with a bull, like locals, they go to bed and wake up early and then go
That's right.
run.
That's the right way to do it.
Didn't you get out though into the corridor and then like jump back in or something?
We
No.
we were just too drunk to even find the starting point. When we walked down and around, we kind of joined in after the bulls had gone. But realistically, we were in no danger. Thankfully, we were probably more of in danger to ourselves at that point. Anyway,
Yeah.
yeah,
I love it, but I love all your stories. You've got so many. You've been all over the world. You've been traveling pretty much nonstop the past, like, I mean, more than 5 years. What, 10 years, I guess, if you started in
went on.
2015.
Yeah.
So, any plans to leave Asia?
I think that was kind of going back to something that I said earlier. One thing that is like a strange cultural shift, at least here in this part of the world, is that people that come here, the local people, they call them, there's like a term for them. They're called losers back home. So they were
Mhm.
not successful back home, but they find success overseas. But I think it's like a double-edged sword because obviously like myself, I didn't get into film and TV, but I did become really successful at teaching, and it's
Yeah.
something that I'm very thankful for. I do plan to stay maybe a little bit longer. We were always dreaming of going back to Europe, especially Spain, since it's some like close to our hearts. We know the language, we know our way around and can kind of navigate the lifestyle there. And being closer to home is probably one of the biggest things. Flying, you know, from Vietnam back to the UK is always a challenge, and even further for a, 27 flight for Haley to get back to the States.
So far
So
away.
that's the biggest issue, being too far away. One day, maybe a couple of years, maybe a couple of years in China before we move back, save up a little bit of money. But yeah, keep on going. Honestly, I don't expect to leave teaching, now that I'm actually in a school away from language centers. I think once you get into a school, it's a different kettle of fish.
Yeah, I get it. I get it.
Okay.
I'm so happy you came on the podcast. You're amazing. I love you. You're a great friend. I want to hear more. Hopefully, you can come back on and
Thank
tell
you
more
very much.
stories.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you for having me. It's the
Yeah.
first time I've ever done this, so it's a new experience, but there are many first podcasts. I popped my cherry. I like it.
Well, I love it. This was your life abroad story, but you can always come back in the future and tell something specific, any funny story. I know we have tons of stories, so we'd love to have you back. Thanks for coming.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye, Elliot. And that's a wrap for today, everyone. Thank you so much for joining and watching our episode. Don't forget to hit like and save or subscribe. I mean, we need you to subscribe. We'd also love to hear from you. You can send us an email, podcast.foreignish@gmail.com, podcast.foreignish@gmail.com. Thanks so much. See you next time. Bye.